That moment after a big launch when the adrenaline wears off and your body is just so overwhelmingly exhausted, or that moment after a heavy client session where you've held so much space that there's nothing left for you, this isn't burnout. This is the crash. And if you are a coach, a healer, a practitioner, a space holder, then you need to know how to meet it with care and not shame. Because holding space for others should never be at the cost of yourself. So, welcome to Resource with Jessica Reed. This is the space where we speak to the real, raw, and often unspoken emotional terrain of running a soul led business. So, today's episode is not about strategy, it is about what happens after the launch, after the intense client session, after you've held space for everybody else and then realize that no one is holding you, even though your ego has probably told you that you're more than capable of holding yourself. This episode is for the space holders. It is for the healers. It is for the emotional anchors, the ones who carry more than they let on. Because emotional crashes are real. And if we don't learn how to process them, we either numb out or we burn out. So, in this episode, I'm taking you into what actually causes the emotional crash after a big output moment, how to recognize the difference between depletion and dysregulation, and why every practitioner needs a personal, energetic toolkit and what could possibly be in yours. We're also going to look at practical ways to support your emotional system and regulation, nervous system regulation before and after high capacity seasons. This is an episode that I wish someone handed to me years ago. Now, if we have not met, welcome. My name is Jessica Reed. I am an intuitive business mentor. I am an advanced EFT tapping practitioner, clinical hypnotherapist, and a guide for women who are building businesses from their body, not just from their brain. And in my own business, I have experienced the emotional crashes that come after the breakthrough and before the breakthrough, but we have lots of other episodes on that. This is after the high of the 50K launch comes a nervous system come down. After holding space for the client's trauma release comes the energetic emptiness. After the group call, the transformation, the celebration, then comes the silence. And if you don't know how to meet yourself in those moments, you'll start to wonder what's wrong with you. And it can creep up with you very quickly. And I see this a lot in practitioners, a lot in therapists, particularly women who are working in a business model that relies purely on their one-to-one for their income. Because quite often what happens is you find yourself in that space where you are overcommitting to more than you have the energetic capacity for, because you need that money, you need that income, you need to pay certain bills and things. And then what happens is when we get into this space, we can start to then doubt our ability, doubt our capacity to hold. And the thing is that there's nothing wrong with you. You just haven't been taught how to hold yourself after holding others. Or maybe you have, but we need to refine that process and bring a little bit more awareness to that, because sometimes even that in the most seasoned practitioner can end up on autopilot. So let's look at why this emotional crash actually happens, because it's not failure, it's chemistry. Let's be really honest here. That post-launch crash, they have helped so many clients through. I have had clients who have booked their sessions just in their launch periods. We do 3 really intense sessions, and then 3 months later when they're launching again, we do the next 3 intense sessions. That post-launch low, that feeling of depletion, and then that inner conflict, because now you've got to deliver into this program. You've got to be high energy and onboarding people, but your body has this absolute crash after being so visible for so long, after being in such high energy, and often a lot of stress and a lot of emotional components that we've attached to that launch, because we're not detached from the outcome, we're very emotionally invested. That leaves us crashing. And this isn't just with launch. Again, that feeling of collapse can happen after we have that intense emotional work with a client. If we fill up our day back to back because we know we can handle 10 clients a day, and then at the end of it, we are absolutely drained. By the last two, we're going, oh my gosh, how did I think I could handle this? That sense of what now that comes in, even after things went really well, none of this is a weakness. This is just a nervous system response. So here is what is happening. During the high output seasons, like your launches, your client sessions, your high times of visibility, you are running on elevated cortisol and adrenaline. You are on. You are always attuned to the present. You are tracking 1,000 things. Your list is 1,000,000 miles long. And then once the event is over, your body crashes because what goes up must regulate back down. This is a classic come down from a sympathetic dominant state. You shift from being in go mode to then a dorsal or hyperarousal state, which then is going to lead you to feeling things like fatigue, emotional flatness, doubt, sensitivity, physical symptoms. It's not burnout yet, but if you don't tend to this state, it can become it. And you can also then start to form a really unhelpful emotional association to launching, for example, because when you go to launch, then you are already anticipating the stress. You're already anticipating how you're going to feel afterwards. And that is going to accumulate all of this experience as well. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between holding your own trauma or holding someone else's. It still carries the imprint. So when you are holding space for others' emotions, for their grief, for their rage, for their healing, even with all of your training, all of your skills, all of your boundaries, all of your ethics, your body still feels it because you are not a machine. You are a sensitive, attuned, emotionally intelligent being. That is your gift. That is what makes you so damn good at what you do. But it is also why you must care for your energy with precision. That is why in our mastermind, a Transcendence Mastermind, we have a monthly call dedicated exactly to this. Not because our beautiful practitioners can't clear their own energy, but because it is just so essential that we have a dedicated space for you to be held, to check in from a level of being held. Because I feel like we check in at a different level when we're held to when we're checking in with ourselves, so that we can recognize what we are carrying from our clients, what may have triggered our own experiences. If something is now coming up for you to deal with because of something that you've experienced, are you honoring your capacity to actually hold space when the ego comes in and says, I can hold 10 a day? After a few heavy days of clients or a few launches, and as you know, who knows what's going to come up in a lot of sessions sometimes. It's a box of fun surprises. There is emotional residue that is clinging to your system. And so maybe you feel more sensitive or weepy or numb. Your system has absorbed this intensity, but it hasn't metabolized it yet. So this is why your business needs more than SOPs and systems and task managers. It needs an energetic recovery plan. Do you have one? Do you have one? Or are you someone who knows, oh, yeah, I've got the tools, I've got the skills, I know what to do to clear my energy, but are you actually doing it? Are you practicing what you preach? Are you doing what I really feel like is a duty of care to your client to really cleanse before and after? And it's okay if you're not. Maybe use this as awareness, because I do really believe that it impacts how you show up and it impacts what you are bringing in to someone who is potentially vulnerable. If you're holding space for others, who is holding it for you? What is in your energetic toolkit? Every coach, every practitioner, every healer, every therapist needs their own toolkit, and there is no right or wrong toolkit, but it is about you feeling into and experimenting with what is going to work for you. Not because you're broken, not because you can't handle it, not because you're not good at what you do, but because your capacity is sacred. That is your number one priority. So here is what could be in your toolkit. Let's talk about that. We want to look at nervous system regulation practices. Things like maybe EFT. I'm a big fan of EFT, breath work, any kind of vagus nerve activation like humming, singing, laying flat on your back with your legs up on the wall, being outside in nature, orienting, self holding, bilateral stimulation. These are all things that you can explore that will help to regulate your nervous system. And we want to be doing these practices before we come into a session. And then we want to be implementing a self check in afterwards. Even if it is a quick cleanse, even if it's a quick feet in the ground and we're giving it back out. So, looking at our boundaries with our recovery, our closing rituals after a session. Do you have them? How are you ensuring that it's not coming back with you in your body, in your energetic field, out to your family, out to your next client? So, closing rituals after sessions could be things like shaking, salt baths, intentional unplugging, cord cutting, or some sort of visualization to release entanglement, tuning out digital noise and just coming back into your own field. And then we want to look at emotional integration tools. Things like journaling with prompts. What am I holding that is not mine? As I said, I facilitate this every single month in the Transcendence Mastermind. Voice noting or movement to express unprocessed feelings. Checking in. Simply learning to check in with your body. Is this mine? Or did I absorb this? And then I also feel like in your toolkit, you should be having, or you could be having, safety anchors for the come down. So that is a cozy ritual, something like maybe a weighted blanket, tea, candles, something to remind your body that it is actually safe to soften. Time offline post launches, built in recovery. Don't wait for the crash. Do you know I have a free resource? You might love it if you are launching. It is a EFT tapping toolkit. There are 5 audios in there to support all of the common stresses and emotional challenges that I have seen, or the most common stresses and emotional challenges that I have seen, not only in my own launches, but in my clients as well. So this is around confidence. This is around launch brain, where we are simply just calming our nervous system, around opening up to new levels of visibility, new levels of income as you are launching. You can prevent the crash. You don't have to wait for it. And then, of course, in this particular part of the toolkit, you'd be looking at letting someone else hold you. Your coach, a mentor, a peer, a body worker, an energy worker. Because recovery, these safety anchors, they're not indulgent, they are essential if you want to lead long term, sustainably long term. Then this is non negotiable. Because remember, as you are leading, you are also experiencing life. You are also experiencing your own ups and downs and your own challenges. And to keep your business sustainable, to make sure that you are not going to completely have to switch off there when things are happening over here. This energetic toolkit, it really is essential. So, some reflection questions for you. What is in my emotional recovery plan after a big energetic output? Where have I been pushing through when I need to pause and integrate? And what would change if I prioritize nervous system recovery as much as I prioritized client results? And so, a quick recap, if you would like to put your own toolkit together, and come and share with me on Instagram what you are including. We want to include nervous system regulation practices, energetic boundaries and recovery. So this is your closing rituals, your cord cutting, your recovery. Number 3, we want to include our emotional integration tools. Number 4, we want to include our safety anchors for the come down. When you have put your kit together, come and share with me what it is. And again, if you are launching, then you can get my free launch kit. This is like your calm and confident launch bestie to support you through the emotional highs and lows of launching. Be proactive. Do this tapping. Each one is like 10 minutes. Do this tapping every single day. It is completely free and you can just get it down in the show notes, going to the resource pages or you can go to the resource pages on my website. Now, I guess the big reminder here that I really want to share with you as we close out this episode is that you were never meant to sacrifice your well-being for your work. And maybe you've got beliefs that you need to work on around that, but you are the vessel, you are the transmission, you are the lighthouse. You need to protect your light. You need to refuel your energy. You need to build systems in your business that honor your sensitivity and strength. This is the leverage in my Energies of Success framework. This is the part where we are really looking at how do we create a business that allows us to tap into our feminine, that holds us. This is not weakness. This is mastery. Thank you so much for joining me today. I cannot wait to hear your aha moments. Come and share your toolkit with me. If you would like to learn more about mastering the energies of success for a scalable, sustainable, and successful business, one that honors your values and works within your unique energy, then perhaps you would like to explore my Transcendence Mastermind space. That is where we learn to master the energies of success so that you can build these burnout proof businesses in a really deeply held and supportive way. And otherwise, until next week, thank you so much for joining me. I love these conversations. I cannot wait to hear you on Instagram, and I will see you next week.